Hello there, welcome back to my channel, it's James here, I hope you're doing okay. I'm holding this because my intention is to be going in and out of the grow tent, which I have right here. Let's just shut this door. And it's not long enough. I need like a wireless one, but for now this is all I have. So I'm just going to hold it here and talk to you when I'm close, and hopefully the audio isn't too messed up. Obviously I'm in my new place. This is my new sort of plant room. You can see it's quite small. Most of this space is taken up by the grow tent, which is my intention, and all of the plants that are in here are behind you toward the window, because that's where the light is. So, and obviously I can't put too much here because the door gets in the way. So it's not a big room, but it's perfectly adequate. I'm very, very happy with it. As for this video today, I don't really have any plans, as I've been putting off making videos. I feel like my plants at the moment, I'm not being super proactive in terms of my collection, which I think is relatively normal at certain points in your collection. I feel like I'm relatively happy with what I have. I'm getting small numbers of like different species, particularly terrarium stuff, because I've been making a couple of little terrariums, which is really cool. I did film a video, but it looks a bit terrible, so I probably won't post it. I need to get like better angles for stuff like that. Kind of just been growing and propagating and like looking after things, and it's still, this room feels very like it's just a nice space to come into. There are lots of plants throughout the whole flat, but it feels like a very dedicated spot, which is kind of nice. And I've not had that before. Like my previous plant room in my old space was like a multi-purpose space, so this is really, really nice. So what I'm gonna do basically is I'm just going to kind of potter in and out of the greenhouse, so you'll see me come and go. I'll pick up some things that I want to share, some like interesting growth maybe. I've been seeing a bit of pest damage around, and within this tent I really try and keep it pesticide free. Obviously I do have pesticide because I sell things, so I'm not going to sell something that has pests. You know, I always treat things before they go out, but I try and keep things in here treated only with the beneficial bugs and things like that. So obviously occasionally there are little flares up of things. I haven't had too many issues with like thrips, or there are no spider mite issues in here at all because the humidity is pretty high, but I have been seeing some mealybugs, particularly on my Hoya. So I'm just going to have a little poke around, and if I find any sort of infested plants I'll bring them out and show you. But hopefully there won't be too many, so that might not happen. And if there's anything I want to cut up, I'll cut it up. If there's anything that's looking super interesting, I'll do that. See you in a sec. Here we are, the door is open. There's like a wave of warmth that comes out as soon as you open it. Recently, I realized that the grow light, so the big grow light, I have a big one up there, was on maximum power, and I was like, why are leaves bleaching? Why is it so hot in here? It was getting into like the 30s on Celsius on like overcast cool days. And I realized that there had been an issue with my like timer, and it had reset everything, so it was just blasting down. So I've turned it down and things are much better now. Here you can see my moss wall, one of them. This one's doing super well. So I'm just going to dive in here and see what I want to pick out and show you. Let me just clip this on here for the moment while I'm holding up these plants. This guy, this Monstera aurea, this is the small form. It's got a really beautiful leaf there. I think there's some nice variegation. The backlighting from the grow tent is not really helping, but yeah, it's really nice, and I still haven't taken it out of this. I'm being so lazy with it, but the roots in this container are just incredible, and it's already got a new little leaf coming through there. So I'm pretty happy with that. Like this, I cut the plant up, I think I said this recently, to try and get a little bit more variegation, and it has kind of worked with these two new leaves. Like they're looking pretty nice, but I've got another one which I'm just going to grab right now. And this one is just doing so nicely. I'm super impressed. Hello, this is probably too loud. Yeah, I need to not have my whole face on it. As you can see, it's got pretty nice variegation compared to the other one. Really, really beautiful there. And this new leaf that's coming through is basically a half moon, I think. Well, almost. Like the top segment of this leaf is going to be yellow. Really, really pretty. So it has kind of worked. I managed to get some decent variegation. This one I'm going to keep and try and get it as big as the other, and hopefully have some really nice, well-variegated, larger plants, because I've seen some on Instagram, like some really, really big, beautiful, fenestrated, well-variegated ones, and they're just stunning. And I don't have a large form moira at the moment. I had a node that I killed, so I'm kind of looking for one of those, but in the meantime I'd like to get like some really mature small form leaves, because they kind of give me the same vibes. I've got all my nepenthes in here at the moment. They're doing so well. I moved my nepenthes in here, I moved most of my other Hoya, all of my little Anthurium seedlings. Things are doing good. I'm going to grab my special Monstera because I love it. I've been like thinking about it obsessively all the time. Ooh. So this guy is like very special to me. It looks kind of terrible in this lighting. I feel like I need to pull down this. The nice thing about this tent is it has these like roll up flaps, so I open it out a couple of times a week just to get a lot of airflow into there. Although I'm going in and out all the time, it's nice to have like an extended period of airflow, but it also means that I can just like, am I going to hit myself? Probably. Just let it drop, and here we are. So this is probably better in terms of like looking at the plants. So I've shown this a lot, and there's a reason for that. I really, really like it. This is my Monstera Thai Constellation Sport. It's people call it like the platinum, but it's got really gorgeous, gorgeous variegation. It's extremely speckled, and I'd say like from a distance it almost looks white. It reminds me of like the mint Monstera. This is the leaf it came with, so it's a little bit sad. But I'm just so impressed at how fast it's growing for a Thai Constellation Sport. Like my other Thai Constellation puts out a leaf every like 3 or 4 months, and this is putting out at least a leaf a month at the moment anyway. And I also cut this growth point away. So this part, the main plant, I've cut it off, and it's got a new growth point right here, which is going to turn into a new plant, and also a new growth point right at the base of the plant there, which is just activated. So hopefully I'll be able to divide it again, and I have a couple of these to share because they're really, really pretty. Like, I feel like as the leaves age, they get even more interesting, but it's just such a cool plant. Now this Florida Beauty is annoying me a little bit. I got this as a cutting in a trade, and this was the leaf that it had. It had 2 nodes, but yeah, its roots are amazing. Like, can I lift it out of there? Incredible, incredible roots in there. Probably needs a new pot very soon. It's annoying me a little bit. Like, it's got some lovely variegation in these leaves, but the majority of the plant is not variegated. So probably what I'm going to do is just chop some nodes off this and try and get it going again. I have a knife here, so why not just do it right now? So I'm going to go down here, and I'm just going to go chop. Oh, the smell of that. I know I always talk about this, but the smell of certain Philodendron, not all of them, but like the Florida Beauty seem to have it. The Philodendron Esmeraldense and Patricia have it like really, really strong. It's like a piney kind of smell. How am I going to do this? So there we go. Couple of nodes. Like, ideally I wanted to get this plant really big, but I'm just not super keen on the sporadic variegation. So there we go. And they grow so quickly, so fast. This tip cutting might struggle a tiny bit. I find that when you cut things and the leaves are still soft, they take a little bit longer. I think that's to be expected, but it'll be completely fine as well. Oh, the smell is ridiculous. Next time you cut up a Philodendron, give it a sniff. It's amazing. All right, I'm going to show you the big glorious leaf in a second as well, because it's just delicious. Oof, now this is a cool Philodendron. This is a Philodendron SP Napo, so species Napo, that I got from our department, and it is, I don't know what it is about them. The leaves are so pillowy and intense and velvety. Like, I spoke about this in a previous video a while ago, but the leaf that it arrived with, and all of the leaves that it had when it came, this is the only one that's left. Like, it's not velvety at all. It's very glossy, very similar to like Erebescens kind of leaf texture. But all of the new leaves that have come through, I don't know whether it's a humidity thing or it's the juvenile leaves, although this doesn't look particularly juvenile, are extremely velvety to the touch. And they come through like a pinky peachy colour. This is just starting to fade to green now. But it is just, I think it's one of my favourite Philodendron at the moment. Like, this and the Philodendron bicolor are just really, really beautiful. So I'm definitely going to keep... new leaf coming through there as well. I'm excited to see what this will do. It doesn't have anything to climb at the moment. Seems to be maturing pretty fast even without that. I've got sap all over my fingers from that Florida Beauty. But yeah, I love it. So also, like I said at the start of the video, it's something that's taking up a lot of space in my growtents at the moment are Anthurium seedlings. I've got like a shelf and a half of them at the moment, and they're growing so quickly. When you have them as like tiny seedlings, you think, oh, this is amazing, I can have hundreds of these. And then suddenly you have to pot them up and they take so much space. But I just picked out a couple of my favourite varieties and individuals and I wanted to show them to you. So this is Anthurium Ace of Spades hybridized with Anthurium Magnificum. I got this from Belle at Plantatic on Instagram. It's got a little bit of discoloration to the older leaves, that's pretty normal. It's in quite a small pot. I feel like it's a fertilization issue rather than anything else, so I'm just going to let this new leaf fully come through and then I'll pot it onto something bigger because it has some very, very hefty roots for something this small, I would say. So yeah, definitely needs a new pot, but it's doing super well anyway. Then I've got some crystallinum. So this is the second or third batch of crystallinum that I've grown, and they're doing pretty well. They had some crazy pest issues. I spoke about before, I had them isolated in one of my big storage containers that I used to move everything over, but they had like thrips, just the worst I've had in such a long time, and only on these Anthurium, so I had them isolated. I had them in the same box as my Nepenthes, unfortunately, so I had to isolate those as well, although they didn't really seem to be affected at all. And I just like bombarded them with beneficial insects. I had so many little sachets in there, and it's done the job. Like all of the new growth is very, very healthy. You can see here, it's so interesting, like in person this leaf is like almost bronzy, like it's got quite an intense red colouring to it, but on camera it just looks like a dark green. But this is one of the crystallinum seedlings. I feel like they're all drastically different, so I'm pretty confident that the crystallinum that I got are a hybridized form of crystallinum, just because the variation seems like a little bit beyond what you'd expect just within crystallinum, although I'm sure it can be pretty drastic. But we'll see as things mature. Another one that I'm really happy about, I've only got 5 of these left, but this is one of my Anthurium moira creonum seedlings. And these are little guys that I started growing a long time ago at this point, like well over a year and a half or maybe 2 years almost that I've been growing these, and they've just done nothing because I had them in a sealed terrarium. You've probably seen them if you watched like videos from a while ago, and because it was in a sealed terrarium I wasn't able to fertilize them as much as they'd like because it was staying too wet in there, so I just kind of ignored them, which is always a great thing to do if you want the best things out of your plants. And they did nothing, unsurprisingly. And then like a few months ago, well actually I think pretty much just before I moved here, I decided to repot them into these little plastic pots and have been fertilizing them really regularly, and they're in brighter light, and like probably 2/3 of the growth that you can see here has happened within the last couple of months. So I'm happy about that. I feel like all of these are going to survive, which is exciting. Is that it? Oh no, there's one more, which is nothing much to see at the moment, but I'm very excited about it. This guy in here, which I have because it's just a tiny, tiny little seed. Single seed that I got is an Anthurium red crystallinum. Doesn't look very red, but I'm just crossing my fingers that it doesn't die. So I'm keeping it in here until it has a couple more leaves and then I'll pot it on. Yeah, those are the Anthurium. Let's go see if there's anything else to look at. First one that I think is kind of cool, because it's the first time I've been able to do it. It seems like it's a bit of a fungus gnat, get out, get out, get out. Feels like a bit of a rite of passage if you're growing an Oblique, particularly the Monstera Oblique Peruvian form. Actually, all of my Oblique currently are running, so I'll be able to do this with most of them. This is my Peruvian form Oblique. It doesn't look any different from last time I had it in a video, apart from it doesn't have a runner anymore, and that's because all of its energy went into the runner for ages. You can see where I cut it there, and you can also see, I hope, I mean if it's ever going to focus on that, but you can start to see the beginnings of new growth there, right there. So yeah, that's doing great. But what is exciting is the runners that I took, and I took one, so it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nodes, which I have just stuck in moss there. and they're already growing. Like, I'm not getting any root growth because I've just sat them on top of the moss, but the little growth points there are kind of doing stuff, which is really exciting. They're growing so much faster than the original node that I got, so I'm hoping that I've got a few. And once I do, I'll be able to like play around with them a bit more in terms of growing conditions. I'd love to get one on one of the moss walls, because I put one of the Oblique Amazonas nodes on the moss wall and it's already doing super well. So I think it's going to be a popular choice for a bunch of different plants. So this guy, this Philodendron patriciae, I don't know, I haven't shown it like individually in a video for a while. It was in my recent tent tour, obviously, but it's doing great. This plant I got, it was one of the first sort of uncommon philodendron that I got, and I didn't realize what it was that I was buying. The price was very, very good at the time. So I got it because I was like, oh, it's stunning, and it struggled basically for 2 years. I think I've had it, yeah, I've definitely had it for over 2 years now. You kind of expect after 2 years for it to be significantly bigger. It's not, because I've had to cut it back so many times. It had some kind of edema issue with the leaves, like it was just, they would get really, really blotchy and then rot and fall off. And then after that, I cut it and kind of repropagated it. It had thrips, like just so badly. And it still has a couple of, does it have any of the leaves left? I think this one might be the last one, so it's the lowest one that has a bit of thrip damage left. So that was a while ago, but it is now starting to do just beautifully. This leaf I'm so happy with. It's almost like otherworldly how beautiful it is, and it has a new one just coming through right now, so I'm imagining that's going to be pretty big. It doesn't have any support. Obviously it's not going to keep maturing if I don't have support, so in typical like lazy me fashion, I'll probably strap something to the outside of this pot, lean it up against the side of the grow tent and let it grow up there. It works. I've done it with other things. And then the other one that I wanted to show is this Philodendron UPI. It's just dropping bark everywhere. I recently repotted this. I took it out of moss because it was in moss for a while, and I feel like moss is really, really good, particularly the live moss, for the initial growth spurt. Like, things get started rooting and shooting really, really quick. And then they just kind of stagnate a little bit, and that's what was happening with this. There was new root growth, but it was kind of cycling out, so it would die and then new root growth would come in. So I decided it was time to move it into like a proper arid mix. And I've been using this really, really chunky mix, which I might talk about at some point, but it's basically like just lumps of stuff with a tiny bit of filler and fertilizer in, and things seem to really, really love it. Definitely an epiphytic kind of mix. The leaves on this UPI are gorgeous, like really lovely. This one, I don't know what happened. I think that's to do with the root issues. Like, it's just was like, oh, am I going to check out? But then it decided to stay. And I'm just happy with it. Like, the other plant that I had, so I split my original plant into 3 pieces, and one of the other parts took off really, really quickly. And then the same thing was happening, like its roots were just dying. So I recently chopped that up as well. And I'm just going to move a bunch of them like either into pon or into this arid mix. And I'm pretty sure they're going to do better long term. And it wouldn't be a video of mine without talking about Philodendron bicolor. Oh my god, these aerial roots, I haven't taken it out in a while, are just insane. Yeah, this is one of the Philodendron bicolor. This is the mother plant that I propagated recently, and it is just doing so well. My intention is to make a proper pole for this, and I will do it. Even though I was just saying I'm lazy with that kind of thing, I will do it because this is my favorite plant, my favorite philodendron anyway. And yeah, I want to give it a chance to like get, when they grow up something, I have one on a moss wall and I'm excited to see what it does. But the leaves really like hang directly down rather than kind of splaying out like this. And I know obviously it has something to do with like the direction the light's coming from, and because the grow lights are overhead, it's angling its leaves this way, but I'd love to have them sort of hanging a bit more. But yeah, this is the mother plant, which is doing great. These aerial roots, like I said, are wanting to go somewhere, so I'm just going to feed a couple of them back into the pot. I have, I think, 6 of these at the moment from the propagations. I have 1 or 2 in pon that are doing great. I have 1 in like a arid mix, which could be chunkier, but it's still lovely. Look at the back of that leaf. This is, sorry, I forgot to say, is this what people want to see about the bicolor? Just gorgeous. So yeah, I'm curious to see how the propagations do. Yeah, it's just overall like just the best plant ever. So if you get the chance to grab one, absolutely do. And if you're based in the UK, I may have some available at some point. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. I'll be back with hopefully more regular videos. Fingers crossed. I kind of get distracted by stuff because I'm back at work. I'm focusing a lot more on that, on like teaching and training and stuff like that. So I have less creative juices to put into anything else really. But I do really enjoy making these videos, so I'll try and get back into it. And I have been doing stuff like I've been continuing with like planty projects and like I said, terrarium. So I'd like to show a little bit more of what I've been doing just to entertain myself. Let me show you that glorious leaf quickly before we finish. So yeah, this is the new glorious leaf. I'm gonna come back here. There's a little fly there, but yeah, it's just so pretty. I love it so much, and the size of it is just like ridiculous. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see updates on all of these plants, check out my Instagram. I'm trying to post there pretty regularly. If you want to watch more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and I will see you very, very soon. Have a great day. Goodbye.